Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Is It Worth the Grind / Gold video. Today we are looking at the T-44-100, and you will be able to grind this tank by throwing away a month of your life while playing both tanks, or you will be probably able to buy it for 30 euros or something like that after the mission is done. While the mission is on, this will cost 60 euros, and I'll tell you right away, don't fucking do it. It's not that special. But anyways, let's start the review by looking at the armor. So you got a T-44 hull, which is terrible. I mean, it's like the Lova pretty much. I mean, you know, not gonna bounce anything with this. It's literally like pretty much as good as the Lova. But the good news is this tank doesn't go 20, so you know, it's not fucking terrible. Anyways, the turret is much better, but it does have its weaknesses. Obviously, around the gun mantlet it's really weak, and next to the gun mantlet it's really weak. Above the gun it's okay, and you know, it's kind of random. These cheeks are really strong, and you do get to bounce quite a bit while playing this, but you cannot really rely on this turret to save you at all times. You have the cupola, but again, with this kind of completely, you know, lackluster kind of armor in the turret. Well, it's not lackluster, it's just that it's not very consistent, which means that you can't really rely on it. Doesn't really matter. There's the cupola there. Then you get the insane side skirt. This is all this tank is about. Oh wait, never mind, it's not really. I mean, the side skirt, it doesn't really do anything. I mean, who the fuck would shoot heat at this anyways? And really, the only good thing about this is that it probably takes the heat shots away from your tank, and yeah, well, you need to find somebody to shoot heat in your side, which doesn't really happen that often. If they shoot heat, they can just shoot you in the turret anyway, so it's kind of weird, kind of, you know, just, you know, novelty thing like on the Panzer IV Smalturm, but I don't think that side skirt even was modeled in the game. This one is, it doesn't really do anything, so it doesn't really matter. You can get some armor when you shoot through the side skirt, through the tracks, as you can see, but then again, I mean, the side armor is 75, so you're gonna get that without even this stupid little side skirt, so it doesn't really matter all that much. That being said, let's look at the gun depression and get into the game. So 7 degrees frontally, 5 to the back, which is actually pretty good for a turret like this. And that being said, let's get into the game. Here we go, playing on Westfield, playing light tier 9 game, which is not too bad. Also the enemy tier 9s, well, apart from the T-54, well, the other one isn't that hard to pen, so it obviously could be worse, and we cannot really complain about this, as it obviously does not have preferential matchmaking, as none of the tanks do these days. But anyways, before shit hits the fan, let's talk about the stats. So first of all, this tank costs 1250 gold, so scratch what I said about the 30 euros thing. This thing is gonna see the market at least at 40 plus euros, and at that price I can already tell you, just forget about it. This tank is not that special and not that good to waste that much money on it. So yeah, apart from that, you have 1350 health, 380 meter view range, top speed forwards 52, backwards 20, power to weight 15.65, soft stats much better than on the T-54 first prototype. Tank traverse 51 degrees, turret traverse 48 degrees. When it comes to the gun, this thing is armed with, you know, the usual 100mm Russian potato gun. And you get a base DPM of 1851, 250 damage, 183 penetration, 2.2 aiming time, 0.35 accuracy, and the soft stats slightly better than on the T-54 first prototype. So comparing this with the T-54 first prototype, overall you get better mobility by quite a bit. You get better power to weight, and actually quite a bit better power to weight, almost like 2 times better turn resistance on hard terrain, and same goes for medium terrain. So it's a pretty significant speed boost on this tank. You obviously don't get the 120mm frontal plate, which really makes the T-54, T-54 first prototype, the bully of lower tiers. This tank does not really do that all that well. Tier 7s will still pen your hull like cheese. Tier 6s might struggle a bit more with that 140 to 150 effective armor, but still heavy tanks at tier 6 can still punch right through that. So when it comes to the gun, you lose tiny bit of DPM, you gain tiny bit of accuracy, and slightly better aiming time with 2.2 instead of 2.4. So yeah, the gun overall handles better on this tank for sure, and Another pretty significant feature that the T-44 first prototype gets over, or T-44-100 gets over the T-54 first prototype, is the 380 meter view range, and with the correct equipment you can max out your view range, and at tier 8 that is actually pretty damn powerful on a lot of the maps. When we come to the equipment, you want to use vert stabs, optics, and rammer. And I'm kind of tired of naming all the good crew skills in every video I ever make, so you know, just pick all the good crew skills and not the shit ones and you'll be fine. So how to play the T-44-100? Well, it is medium to close range hull down brawler. That's the thing that this tank is the best at, and the thing that you should be trying to do at all times. Well, the turret is not gonna save you every time, it will save you every once in a while, which is usually enough, and also this gun just does not handle itself very well, even at this kind of range. As you can see, these disappointing shots like this one and the missed tracking shot on the IS-3 as well. Like, this gun does need some aiming, and that means that you need to be close to your enemies in order to be effective in this. And you should also just avoid sitting still and aiming. You can slow down a bit before you shoot, but don't just stop, because then your enemies are gonna have an easy time just panning you right in the gun. Once they learn where the weak spots are on this, it should not be that hard, especially if they have any trouble spanning it to begin with. You gotta pick your targets correctly in this, as well as it does lack penetration. You don't really want to go against IS-3s, IS-6s and shit like that. The AP sharp pen pretty disappointing as well, with only 235, so even with that you're gonna struggle penning IS-3s every once in a while, so you know, try to avoid brawling with heavies. In this map I could afford playing that flank, as most enemy team were medium tanks, and the tier 9 they had was made out of toilet paper, so it worked out reasonably well for me, but in general you don't really want to play this as a heavy at all. It's a pretty decent lower tier bully, but don't get overconfident. This is not a T-54 mod 1, your hull is not gonna bounce everything that gets shot at it, as long as it's like tier 7 and below. This tank, it will not do that. This tank will often, well, you're gonna get yourself killed often if you play cocky in this, as the hull is not all that good at all. Playing against the T-44 can be really annoying if you're something like a Panther 88, Panther 2, something like that, but most other tanks have pretty good, easy time dealing with this. They either trade much better or have just plenty of armor to bounce this potato gun, and also, you know, the fact that this tank cannot aim is, as long as you position yourself even relatively well against this, it's gonna provide, well, it's gonna be hard for a T-44 driver to deal with you if you just position relatively well. This tank abuses bad players really well with the quick snapshots, quick peeks, and decent turret armor, but the better players will just not let that go through and will punish this tank every time it peaks. So far I've had a pretty decent game. Could have gotten absolutely fucked there when the 5100 shot me in the side and tracked me, but for some reason he decided to back off, maybe he was reloading or something like that, and now this game's pretty much over. We just need to find the Centurion. I know he's somewhere up here because he was shooting the IS-3 earlier, and he is shooting all those guys all the time now as well, so I should be able to find him relatively quickly now. And if the Centurion is on full health, we should be able to take him on as long as, you know, I get some support from my team, but even without that, I mean, player like that is unlikely to be very, very good at the game. And here he is, and this is, you know, the perfect angle to find him, especially if he's not even moving. I can easily aim into his road wheel and make sure that even all damage gets done to him by other people is my assistance as well, so even more increasing my credit gain and experience. I don't even give a fuck if he shoots me again. Keeping him tracked there is way more important, so yeah, that is the game. So here's the endplate. Ace Tanker, 2226 experience. Confederate medal is the only thing we racked up this game. The 3934 damage, 1083 assisted. Picked up 1 kill and 1349 base experience. And after repairs and resupply of ammunition, that game made me 112k credits. So the credit making ability is definitely there for the tank. I mean, that was a pretty good farming game for me as well, can't really deny it. But this tank makes decent credits as long as you don't resort to APCR at first opportunity. Overall, though, the T-44-100 is a really hard sell to make. It's, you know, it does have its abilities, like it's a fast medium with, you know, some armor, but other than that, the gun is rather mediocre, and it's really hard to even justify this over something like a T-54 Mod 1, not even talking about tanks like the STA-2 that are just flat out much better. So is this tank worth 12,500 gold, which is probably going to be around 45 euros? Fuck no, it isn't. God damn, it isn't. Like, if this tank costed 30 euros, it would be like, oh, okay-ish, you know. It wouldn't be great, but, you know, you wouldn't argue too much. But fucking 1,250 gold, it's way too much. Now the second point, is this thing worth the grind? Well, if you have a month to, you know, just dedicate to this game, then sure. I mean, it's not gonna take you that long, as long as you have, like, you know, competitive tiers unlocked in most trees. And even if you do only have like 6 out of the 8 nations to, you know, with some tanks that you can actually do the mission with, doing 6 and buying the 2 tokens is probably not the terrible idea. You get you pretty much get a tier 8 premium then for like 12 euros, and for that price, this tank is actually not that bad. But yeah, I mean, the grind is pretty ridiculous in itself as well. So if you do not have all the tanks, it's gonna be really hard for you to do it. But as I said, if you can do like, you know, 6, maybe 5, 5 is probably not enough to bother to buy it. But if you can do 6 out of 8, then it should be a decent buy for you. Anyways, I hope you guys appreciate my opinion on this tank, and I'll see you on the next one.